Okay, welcome everybody. That was fun. It was a fun start.
I'm sorry.
We should have had snacks.
Should have had
Welcome to the City of Indian Rock Beach Special City Commission meeting. This is Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order. So if you would, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Stand for a few moments of silence, please. Thank you. Lauren, could you call this meeting to order?
Commissioner Bigelow?
Present.
Commissioner Bond? Commissioner King?
Present.
Vice Mayor Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Commissioner Husberg?
Here. Thank you. Today we'll be doing a selection of city manager applicants. Our senior advisor, Fran Bagadoshio, is going to review the process and discuss how the applicant list was created. So take it away, Pam.
Sure.
Hi. Hope everybody had a great July. I would say that I was pleased with the overall quality of the applicants. I think there's some really interesting resumes here. There's no doubt that when you go through this process, it's subjective. It's going to come down to what is the best fit for the city commission. And that's why the meeting today, what I did was actually not rank the candidates at all, but sort them. And it's not that anyone's ever a no. It might be that their application just doesn't particularly, their skill sets may be different from what's required from the city manager position, and specifically the qualifications listed in the ad. We had 21 resumes that were received. July 18th was the cutoff. Let's set, and I'm just going to go through the process real quick to remind everybody, and then we'll get into the candidates. Article 5 of the city charter actually addresses the position's minimum qualifications. Pretty subjective, the ability to work with the public, extensive knowledge of law and policies and municipal operations, 4-year college degree, BA or PA preferred, and 5 years experience in local government administrative or management position. We also had included in the advertisement Florida coastal experience dealing with hurricane recovery and prep, beach and dune restoration, continued rehab of city facilities, support for commission policies, commercial and residential restoration. Which, by the way, is looking really good. It's been 3 weeks since I've been here, and there's a lot going on in Gulf Boulevard. Today is the day that the commission will select their top applicants to be interviewed. And then on August 11th and 12th, we're going to start at 9 a.m. each day. And there will be individual candidate interviews held with individual commissioners. I add that individual commissioners part for city attorney's benefit. There will not be any discussion in between rooms, and myself and another senior advisor and your city staff will be there to keep everybody separate. There's no bullpen except for the candidates, and you just move in, you do your interviews, you ask your questions, and then you move on to the next one. On the Tuesday, we have public interviews, which will be here in this room. Depending on the number you select today, we can probably do 9, 10, 11, a break for lunch, and then 1 and 2. The idea being to give you some individual thought time, is we are going to ask you at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night to select a candidate subject, of course, to background and criminal checks for your city attorney to negotiate a contract with and to bring back for your approval. The city clerk, and by the way, your staff is awesome, every one of them, and very impressed, very organized. City clerk has already booked a bank of hotel rooms. A number of our candidates are local-ish, so I have told anyone that had asked that the city would be reimbursing travel expenses, so I think that's going to be pretty minuscule is what it looks like. in terms of the pool of candidates. Just as a reminder again, the senior advisors do not provide background checks. I mean, we're simply doing this sorting process as volunteers. I don't want any of that liability in terms of background checks. But the city clerk has arranged to use the background reference check process, and I'm pretty sure it's the criminal background as well, Lauren, in terms of how you currently hire any Ross Beach employees. The city advisors are also not involved in contract negotiations. We just step out. I am hopeful with you coming in. This process is going to go well. Come next Monday and Tuesday, and I can wish you all the best of luck. You know, that evening after you make your selection, and then I'll get to meet your new manager when they join us in terms of the Pinellas County group. So, based on that, can we get into the applicants? And my sorting hats were pretty, try to use generic titles again, just because the person isn't qualified for this position doesn't mean they're not qualified. But the folks subjective as well, that I thought exceeds the qualifications that were in the ad. And I did reach out to these 8 people this week just to see if they were still available. I didn't want you to select someone today and then have Lauren's office or Michelle call them and find out, no, I've already taken a position. Howard Brown told me via phone today that he did take a position this last month, just July, Fort Meade, and he was out of Indiantown, so Howard would not be available for an interview. Chuck Anderson, he did text me back today. Chuck, I think, has taken an interim position up in the Panhandle, but he did want to talk to me this afternoon, just after the meeting. It's not a permanent position, so I think Chuck would still be available. Ken Griffin, Dave Harville, Ryan Henderson, Yvonne Kimball, Lynn Lanier, Michael McLaughlin, I have spoken to in the last 2 days, and they are also very interested and available. And I'm just going to go from the top here, and I won't take too much of your time because I really want the commission to have the discussion. Chuck Anderson, I met Chuck when I went in to do goal setting with the Treasure Island City Commission back in late April. Chuck was new to our area and had the misfortune of starting, I think, last August, right before the 2 hurricanes. He is a 27-year career Air Force vet. He had been both a public works director and a deputy city manager out in Montana, in ski towns, basically, very touristy. And Chuck came into Treasure Island. His fire chief spoke today to my Rotary, and his trip always says, well, we've all got lots of experience this last fall with hurricanes. But that is Chuck's resume there. Howard Brown is the one that's took himself out. We have Ken Griffin. I thought Ken's was interesting. You heard that word for me. I've done so much hiring over the years in terms of directors and chiefs and that sort of thing. I always look at that interesting resume. He was former public works director out of Hillsborough County and assistant county administrator there for 7 years. And then, as you know, big government. But what I thought was interesting, he moved to the Outer Banks after that. I specifically asked, not being that familiar with North Carolina geography beyond probably Charlotte and the interstate, but he has been in the Outer Banks since 2013 and has just retired from the Outer Banks, and I found out today he kept his Florida house, which was good to know. In fact, he's at his Florida house right now, which is in the Tampa Bay area. Ken's interest to me was because of the restoration efforts and water, wastewater, all those contracts that have to be supervised, public works, all the building that you've still got going on. So Ken is still available. David Harville was the next one. I just know the last gentleman. I know probably 3 of these candidates. personally in that sense, professionally, I should say. David Harville, out of Boynton Beach. The reason I was interested in him, the government HR USA is a major firm. He has been a local government consultant with them between 2015 and 2025, so 10 years. And he has done a number of key interim management roles, as well as organizational analysis and public utilities, customer service, contract negotiations, that sort of thing. But before that, he was Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, Havelock, North Carolina, and Swansboro, North Carolina. Everything from infrastructure projects again, and emergency operations manuals. So kind of, in that case, it was the beach towns again. And that consulting experience I thought was good. Ryan Henderson, I first met Ryan years ago at FCCMA. He was one of our original scholarship folks years ago. He reminded me how long ago I jumped in today. Ryan, though, was an assistant city manager over in Fort Lauderdale, and then an assistant neighborhood support manager. So he's got the experience in terms of community experience. But then he went out to Texas, and interesting towns from Anna, Texas. And I can't tell you much about Anna, Texas, but he started out there as an ACM, and he's now their interim city manager. He's been out there for 5 years, and is obviously looking to come back to Florida. I think we were lucky that we got a lot of folks that were either local or looking to come back. The next person is Yvonne Kemble. I don't know Yvonne. It's funny, I had just read in the ICMA newsletter about her leaving Morro Beach, which is a very pretty touristy town north of LA. One of those places I keep meaning to get to and haven't done yet. But she was in Florida, and she left in 2012. And she did start out interning with Brevard County, which is the Space Coast area, and in fact was in Bowling Green, where I picked up on her experience there. A lot of grants experience. It's a small town, budget shortfalls, post-hurricane recovery, those sort of things. And then she took a stint in Arizona, population of 4,000, which I thought was good again. A lot of community involvement there. And then went out to Jackson, California, which is near Sacramento. And a lot of emergency services experience there in terms of EOC. What doesn't California get? Everything I guess but hurricanes, the flooding and the droughts and the conditions. And then I know of her experience in Morro Beach because they're the ones that have had some major emergency management issues as well. But Yvonne has a house in St. Petersburg. Sometimes I'm always a little weary about that, but it's pretty obvious that she's not looking to retire any soon, so that's good. Lynn Lanier, I first met Lanier again through FCCMA a few years ago, and she was out of Ohio before, Minnesota. Yeah. Minnesota, before that Kansas. I remember her reference checks for positions in Florida. They were always very good, solid experience. And she's been over in Ocean Ridge, which is South Palm Beach County, for the last 3 years, and is available and does want to remain in Florida. So there. I did not know Michael McLaughlin. He is probably one of the most local candidates. Michael, solid experience in Oregon, and then came here to Reddington Shores. He was hired there in June 2023. I did kind of talk to him about that, sort of a mutual parting, I guess, in these last few months, but he obviously is available and obviously is a local. Those were the ones I had in the first batch in terms of exceeds qualifications. There is nothing wrong with these other candidates. There's, some pretty unique experience there in the meets qualifications groups. So I think with that, I'm gonna hush and let you all, unless you specifically want me to go through the next batch, which is probably another 8 names or so. So I'm just gonna stop and let you decide if you all want to do
Does
this.
anybody want him to explain more of the candidates that are in the, just its requirements?
I'd like to hear more about Emmanuel.
I was gonna say,
Okay,
Emmanuel, he looked like that exceeds expectations. I'm kind of curious about how it meets versus exceeds.
The only thing there was the short tenure in College Park. But he does have a solid background before that in public works, in North Miami Beach. Specifically, before that, he did some capital projects and facilities up in Virginia. He was a disaster prep, small business administration before that in terms of feds. So he's got a solid, I was gonna say a solid waste background. No pun intended there. And he'd been interim director of Public Works, but it was just that short. The only thing that didn't make that top, and again, it was very subjective, realizing we probably want to interview between 4 and 6 people. That was the only reason. And then it was just that short tenure at the end. He did start though in College Park as director of Public Works in June 2023 and got promoted from there up to city manager. I don't think that was a good experience for him, but I don't, I was a manager in transition twice over my 40-year career, and I don't want you to think that you should use that in any way as a negative on a candidate, and also don't believe what you read on social media. If you all have been through that here in the New Rock speech personally, it doesn't mean that that person had a concern or had a problem. It could have been as easy as what occurred in Treasure Island with Chuck Anderson. He ended up with 4 out of 5 commissioners turning over in the first 6 months he was there. And what I have learned in this field is the commission wants to feel like it's their own person. And when a new commission comes in, it always seems to be important. A couple of the interesting resumes I thought, again, in the meets qualifications. I know Chris Edwards. He did not work for me. He came into New Smyrna Beach after I left, because I retired out of there in 2019, summer 2019. He came in August of 2020. Chris recently was a finalist for an assistant city manager in Clearwater. So he's considered very qualified, but his experience is economic development and community redevelopment. There were a number of partners in New Smyrna. I was there for 10 years as city manager in terms of some very large innovation center sort of projects that he was involved in, water and sewer always. And if you notice, he's got the Tallahassee experience, business advocate, economic vitality, and he's even had a stint in there as real estate. But Chris is an interesting candidate. He just hasn't had that experience as an assistant city manager or city manager. And sometimes that experience can make all the difference in the world. You find her lovely, but that assistant city manager or that city manager is the one that's usually on the firing squad, shall we say, in the sense of the public and the commission and that team building and that partnership. So the directors get to skate a little bit. I don't know that your interim would say that, but it's a different relationship when you work as an assistant or as a CM. I thought Jeff Gellerman, I recently got accepted into the Master Gardening Program. I've been wanting to do that for a while, and it starts mid-August and runs through mid-November, and Jeff is the one I've been getting emails from. He doesn't know that I'm doing this recruitment, I don't know him, but I thought his resume was really interesting. Now, he doesn't have any experience again in terms of the city manager, but we know he's done the planning, the budget management, the PR. I mean, they're doing social media and setting up Facebook pages and Instagram postings. What I thought was interesting in his background, and maybe of you all, he has been basically the director of the Sea Grant program, which is all about youth education and algae blooms and, you know, just in terms of the environment. And before that, he also did that in Sarasota County. So, you know, I thought it was an interesting background, but again, he didn't have any city manager or even assistant city manager group. I had Kristen Melchus in there. When I looked at this again, I'm not sure how. I'm sorry about that. She's a really good resume. It's not that she's a bad candidate, but her management roles were in the election industry. So when I look back on this, I thought, well, maybe I got her mixed up with someone else. You know, great resume, but probably not what you're looking for. Jennifer Pollack, I thought it was pretty cool that her background, again, if you go back and look at it, it's out of Ohio State University. Is that the Ohio State, as they always say?
Yes, it is.
Yes, there you go. But I thought it was great. She was a village administrator, August 2019 to December 2023, in Connellsville, Ohio. But then she was the president and founder of the Follow the River Environmental Inc., and it was a successful environmental consulting firm. I thought about you and your environmental part here. So, you know, again, she had some experience there. She would definitely meet that minimum qualification there in terms of CM, but not as, you know, again, meets qualifications is a little different than exceeds. And then I think they must have, well, I think it's the good information that Michelle gave us for the ad, because we did get a lot of folks with grants experience and estuary program. And Brian Underwood, look at his resume. He's been very involved in grants again, and he has been actually the executive director. I think that's the Chawahachie. And I will confess, I have been through that estuary, because I used to work up in Bay County for 3 years. And his background is out of the Panhandle, but there is a lot of planning background there, as well as estuary programs, and now he does grants. And it's cool, he lives in Fairhope, I'm sorry, but that's one of those places I always wanted to visit again, just a cool historical town. But he was also, and this is huge, St. Joe Company, he was a planning manager. And I actually worked with the St. Joe Company on the moving and expanding the Panama City Airport and actually setting aside thousands of acres for environmental preservation, water sound. So interesting resume, you just didn't have that traditional CM background. So those were the first group. You've got some interesting people again in the different skill set group, and it doesn't mean that some of those folks now aren't qualified to be city manager, but they've got different skill sets. And if there's anyone that you want to pull out and specifically discuss that. But I just want to tell you again, it's very subjective. It's got to be a good fit. And it's going to get down to the interview. And it's going to get down to your individual perceptions and then how you mesh as a group when you discuss that. And that will be 6 o'clock next Tuesday night. And public interviews are very different from private. You know, you all know that you've got to have somebody that's comfortable in this role and explaining things to the public in terms of the city. But you also know that you want to be comfortable with someone on a one-on-one as well when they're doing the briefings with you and when they're telling you their recommendations and why. So that's all I'm going to say at this point. Probably talk longer than I needed to. But I'll let you kind of take over the discussion.
Thank you, Dan. Well, now at this time, are you guys ready to make your selections and put them on?
Before we do the vote, we just have to open the public comment.
Sure. So I'll open it up for public comment. Would anyone like to make a comment? Yeah, please.
please.
Hello, my name is Doug Andrews. We did the trusses here and all that.
I can't hear.
I'm sorry. I live in Treasure Island. I'm one of the applicants on here. I was in the different qualification, and I think on my list they have me as Doug Anderson, which is wrong. It's Doug Andrews. But I did want to take a minute because I don't exactly know why I was cast there. I'm not going to. Pam obviously did a great job, and there's no sour grapes. But if we look at the qualifications real quick, the ability to work with the public, extensive knowledge of laws, policies, and union experience. First off, I was a business owner in Madeira Beach, but I've also spent 10 years in the municipal government. I went from, they recruited me to be the vice chair of the Civil Service Board, and they asked me to be the director of recreation, and I rose my way up. Ended up being acting city manager. Big transition. We were just talking about that Treasure Island. A lot of new people came in. They fired the whole board. So I then ran for public office. So
This is garbled.
it's garbled. I'm sorry. Is that better?
Hear the person.
How about that? Is that a little better? Am I too close? Okay, so the first qualification, yeah, and I ended up being the vice mayor, so I sat in your chairs as well. I've been through enough of these that I know they're tough to do regardless. The second qualification was a 4-year college degree. I'm a happy graduate of Stetson University here in Florida. I have a bachelor's of business administration. 5 years experience in local government. We've obviously already talked about that. I did 10 years in a city that is the same size, same population, and is about 7 miles up the road from you guys on the Barrier Island. Well, now is where it really gets crazy on my behalf. I don't know if I've met your qualifications on that, but as far as coastal Florida experience in dealing with hurricanes, Helene and Milton aren't the only two I've dealt with since I've been here. I lost a bunch during those storms, as well as I'm sure a lot of you guys have. Beach and dune restoration. I worked with, I got the city of Madeira, one of the group got a grant for $1.5 million to redo our beach grounds, which is now completed. Also $1.2 million for John's Pass dredging, and we also had dune restoration, which old Helene and Hurricane Helene had something to say about and ripped them all apart. But I've done all these things. Continued rehab of city facilities. I was front and center in building the new city center over there, the rec center, the firehouse a decade ago, which we did for $11 million, and now it looks like we got yelled at and screamed at for doing it. Now that $11 million looks like the bargain of the century. Treasure Island's trying to do a firehouse for $12 million, and ours included a firehouse, a city center, a rec center, ball fields, building department. So we all got done, supportive commission policies, and obviously I was a legislator like you guys as well. So obviously I was a part of all that. My only question is, obviously the different people were an afterthought. I'm kind of wondering, and Pam, I don't want to put you on the spot, but why did I fall out of that? At least meet expectations, if not exceed.
You're just a different skill set.
There's no answer, and there's no,
I'm sorry.
there's no back and forth.
Sorry.
Okay, I heard you read off these other applicants. There were skill sets that don't meet mine, especially here on the Barrier Island. And like I said, no water under the bridge. Everything's cool. I'm just wondering why I got sectioned out of that when you see the experience that I have and the fact that it's 7 miles up the road. That's all I need. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your application, and I do want to make you aware that all of us will make selections based on all of the candidates.
I understand.
Not just how they were carved out.
Right, but mine wasn't discussed in the open meeting, and there's people that aren't here. So obviously that was an afterthought. And I was put in a group that maybe didn't have any qualifications or had less qualifications. And after watching her read through the ones that she did, I'll just be honest with you. Maybe on paper, it probably wouldn't be a good fit, but I had to make you guys look like geniuses. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. If you grant me an interview, I won't be disappointed. Okay? Thanks, guys.
Does anyone else have a comment? Hi, Kelly.
Who was that person? I couldn't hear the introduction, the stuff until
I
that.
don't think any of us did.
Doug Anders.
Okay.
Doug Andrews from Sugar Island.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Kelly Sistrick. I live at 448 Harbor Drive South here in Indian Rocks Beach. And I'm really pleased with what Pam has done with grouping these
Please
folks.
speak up.
I'm sorry. Hi. I'm pleased with what Pam has done to group these applicants. And I think that the looking at the top 8 of the group that is exceeding qualifications. I think the top 2, it sounds like both are maybe spoken for, although the first one, Mr. Anderson, has taken only an interim position. So, but anyway, I would discount those top 2, and I would ask that you interview 6, not 5, the remaining 6, the bottom 6 of that top group. And I would simply ask that you look for style this time. Someone that has an openness to them, someone who has a collaborative approach, and someone that is a people person, because they're going to be getting along with a new city attorney. They're going to need to work with city staffers that have all the knowledge that they don't have, all the personal knowledge, and they're going to need to work well with them. And I hope that we'll find somebody that doesn't try to micromanage and instead tries to take our individual staffers and employees and bring them up to their maximum potential. So I hope you'll find somebody with that sort of style this time. We may not get our first choice. When you do find an applicant, they might not accept the position in the end, and you might have to, take your second choice. So I hope everybody looks for 2 or 3 good people out of that group. And I'm really hopeful. Thank you.
Thank you, got it. Does anyone else have a comment? I'm closing the public comment. So if you would proceed with filling out your candidates page, and we'll get it to Lauren.
May I make a comment? Okay.
Yes, you can make your comment now.
I would just like it noted that after approximately 20 hours of research using various tools from personal talking to people to joining citizens group, I have selected my top 5 candidates, and I am authorizing Lauren Karnichuk, our city clerk, to submit those 5 candidates on my ballot.
Thank you. And you have Jude's as well,
I do,
correct?
so if Jude, Commissioner Bond could just say the same then.
Okay. Can you say that, Jude? Earth to Jude.
Sorry, I had to unmute.
Okay.
Yes, so I select my 5 candidates to Lauren for her inclusion in the list.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I would just ask if they have any changes after the presentations or comments.
I do not.
I didn't hear.
He said he does not.
Okay, and I would ask,
You don't have any changes, Jan, after the comments?
I had already given one change to Lauren after knowing that Mr. Brown was no longer, so mine are correct.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to making our selections.
Just to make the record clear, these are not anonymous
Right.
submissions, correct? They're putting their names on them.
Yes, their names are on there.
Thank you.
Thank you for confirming that.
Laura.
Oh, that's.
Who's going to tally the results?
Between Michelle and I, yeah, okay.
the question is, if you are okay with selecting just 4, and the reason I say that is we have a legitimate 4 that came in, you know, we've got lots of votes for 4, and we can definitely pinpoint 4.
Okay, great.
We have a tie for only 2 votes, and a tie for only 1 vote. 4. We have 4, you know, votes that, you know, tied with only 2. So, you don't have to do 5. We can just leave it, hey, we have significant votes for, you know, 4 people.
Does everybody want to know who the 4 are before we make
Sure.
that decision?
Absolutely. And so
I
let me,
thought she was going to
Yes.
surprise us with it later.
okay. So, this is, our tally is, I'm sorry, Commissioner Bond?
Jude's saying something.
What did you say, Jude?
I couldn't hear who these 4 are.
Okay.
We didn't either, that's what we're waiting
Yeah,
on.
I'm sorry. And the drum roll, I'm sorry, did not introduce it that way. Okay. So the top of the two that received 4 votes, Ryan Henderson and Yvonne Kimmel.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm agreeing with those.
Ryan Henderson and Yvonne Kimball.
Excellent.
Okay.
Hang on, I'll walk in front of the speaker again.
We also have another, that each of these candidates received 3 votes. David Harvell and Lynn Lanier.
You guys hear that?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Arvell. I think there's too many red flags on Ladner.
So those are the 4 votes. Now I can tell you who got 2 votes. There were 7 people that just got 2 votes.
Hang on, Laura.
Yes.
I think Jude's had a comment.
Okay. The 2 first votes that received 4 are Ryan Henderson and Yvonne Kimball.
Okay.
Harvell.
You're good. She's now gonna go over who got 2 votes, Commissioners.
Emmanuel Adrian, am I saying that right? Chuck Anderson, Jeff Gellerman, Ken Griffin, and just to follow through them, there were 2 other people that received 1 vote, and that was Michael McLaughlin and Jennifer Ponchak. So the question goes, once again, if you want to just stick with just doing the 4, or if you want to go ahead and vote again for a 5th person.
I'm okay with the 4, and to add a 5th, I would go Chuck Anderson, so we can see what the story is. There's always 2 sides to every story. I got 5 bids. That's what I think.
What do you think, Hillary? I agree that we should add a 5th, whatever the process is that we want to do, given Janet's concerns about them. I think it's just fair that we have.
Okay. Well, being that it's just 1 person, we could just do what Commissioner Bigelow did, and that is just maybe state your 5th person rather than having another applicant, or should I do another paper
I
vote?
mean, there's a couple ways to do it. You could turn his comments into a motion, and if it gets a second, you can take a vote on it. Or I would suggest circulating the 3 names again and have them re-vote the 3 names.
Or 4 names.
Or the 4, I'm sorry.
So you're saying that we have to do a motion to have the 4 names voted on, and then to add a 5th, because the actual agenda does say up to 5.
To have the 5th be the person he wanted.
Oh, I just thought that maybe everyone would just maybe, okay, so we'll do a vote then.
So I think you probably should do a vote
Okay. Let's do that. I've got paper.
on
Just-
select one person to be the fifth out of the four that
Correct.
got three votes.
Very good.
That's good, Commissioner, Vice Mayor, Commissioner.
I put a motion in to put Chuck Anderson in.
No, what we're gonna do, Commissioner Bigelow, is I'm gonna hand you back your original card. And if you could please select somebody that you have not selected already. And if you can indicate that on the card, maybe just below where there's, some extra space. You agree?
I think I'm limited to the individuals that get, the four individuals that got.
Can you give him that microphone?
Oh, I understand.
Can
Okay.
you give him the public microphone so we can hear him?
No, that's okay.
Sorry.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Say it again for them.
Yes. So,
I think I'm confused on the number of people left over. The four were clear. There was four that, or two that got four, two that got three, and how many got two?
4 got 2.
Okay, sorry, I had it backwards. So the four people that got two, I would circulate those four names again for them to select one, and then we'll tally them again.
Sounds good. So if you can give us just Michelle and I just a moment, and I'll get you guys new cards. Okay?
And then what's the process for the?
They'll text it. I'll make sure. I'll make sure that if Commissioner Bond and Vice Mayor Wilson can just hold on, and I will work with them on the phone. If they can just wait just a moment.
Okay, stand by.
Okay, that's right. Is that it? Okay. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Michelle. You go ahead and let them know that, and then I will get it from, kids on the phone. All right, guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so who you're going to be voting for? These are the names. Are you ready?
Yes, I've already chosen mine.
Oh, okay. All right. We've got, don't say anything.
Okay.
We've got Emmanuel Adrian, Chuck Anderson, Jeff Gellerman, and Ken Griffin. And, you
Yeah.
can text it or verbal.
I would text it.
Okay. If you could text it to me, that'd be fine. And then I will indicate it on your same original vote sheet. Okay. Yeah, text it to me. Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right. Yes, I'm here.
6 degrees warmer.
Okay, sounds good.
I kind of like this phone-in option.
No, this is a one-off.
Nightmare.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay, so it would be, we have 3 for Chuck Anderson. So the following are going to be, the applicants that we will be interviewing will be Chuck Anderson, David Harvell, Ryan Henderson, Yvonne Kimball, and Lynn Lanier.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Pam, for making this process so much easier.
And we'll see you on Monday morning, 9 a.m. You all have separate rooms and keep your distance, all good advice.
Thank you. So I guess somebody needs to make a motion to adjourn.
No, wait, no, we're not done yet.
Oh, we've got more.
But wait, there's more.
There's more, yes.
Taking you back to the speaker.
We we're just going to discuss the interview process. This is, the first subject is the one-on-one interviews on Monday, August 11th, 9 a.m. I was talking with Dean Sharma, our Public Works Director, who in the past went through this when he hired Greg. And he is going to help me with that day, and so is Michelle, because it's going to be, we're going to go, and Pam will be here too.
Terry and I'll be here too.
Great. There's a lot of running around and a lot of coordination, because we got to keep you guys separated. And we'll be in this building, correct? We'll be in this building. You guys will be in random rooms, and
So we'll meet in here.
this is not open to the public at all. Sorry. It's important for us to keep you, the commission, separate from each other. But I just wanted to, so I can kind of put kind of an agenda, I'm going to try to put like some kind of thing together for all of us. So I just wanted to say that if you were okay with it, if we could take maybe a vote. Basically, you'll have 45 minutes with each applicant to interview them on your own, allowing staff 15 minutes to move them around and get you back in there. You'll be in a room that has kind of like a dining table in there, kind of a suite kind of thing, so you'll have a control area. We ask that you not leave your room until after the telephone.
Thank you.
So if we just take a consensus that you're okay with 45 minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
And did you have anything to add about that?
No, I think you covered it well. We will literally knock on the door, because if one of you runs, you're all going to be interviewing at the same time, basically. 5 slots, 5 candidates, 5 commissioners. I'm going to let Lauren put that schedule together. It's like a March Madness schedule. We'll be fine at it.
Yep.
But just don't talk about the candidates, don't look at each other, just go in your room and stay there. And it's, we're not going to ask you for any of your impressions. And then the public interviews will be on Tuesday again, 9, 10, 11, 1, and 2. And then that gives you time to go home and think about it and be prepared to have a good discussion among yourselves on Tuesday night at 6 p.m.
Thank you. I just was going to say, Attorney Mager, did you have anything to add about that meeting on Monday, August 11th?
No, I mean, I think what's that?
It just deflates me, so.
Okay, I think that the way you're doing it is fine as long as they're kept separate, and just a reminder of Sunshine not to discuss it with each other. But that the time for the open discussion will be on Tuesday. So.
Correct. And so moving into the part B of that, here we go, August 12th at 9 a.m. Pam kind of just said we're going to have like an hour with each avenue as a whole. We'll have an hour with each applicant. This is open to the public, by the way, at 9 a.m. So we have 1 hour for that. Pam had suggested, and this was brought up, I've read somewhere else, that it's good for there to be a base interview questions, that each applicant will get that same, each one is going to get that same question, still allowing time for each of you to ask your own questions. You don't, I did get some feedback from Vice Mayor Wilson and Commissioner Bond, what questions they liked. Rather than reviewing every question now, I don't know if you all just want to submit some questions from that list I gave you, if possible, so that way we're all on the same page, and then whoever has the most common, I'll put them together. So at that meeting, these will be the questions that will be asked. And then, of course, when they come up, like I said, you will all be able to ask your own question, like, what's your favorite color or something.
I think that's good.
Yes, I agree. I think we can just send them, and I'm sure they'll share them around. I guess I would just request if it's possible, as they're stated, they're very good, but a lot of open-endedness, and so trying to be more deterministic in the questions, looking for specific examples and outcomes of things rather than generic, open-ended, kind of, how do you feel about this?
So how do we do this? So if everyone, because those questions I sent, those are numbered. If you could please send a selection of questions that you would like, that you would like to be heard just generally. And when we ask those questions, we'll make sure to indicate to the applicant, can you please be a little bit more specific, even though the question is very vague, could you be more detailed in that response? Like I said, though, there's not a limit. Yeah, there we go. I could put that as a question. I did not read it.
No.
She was specific. Here.
Can you say that again, please?
Yes. We would do the general questions like in a superintendent interview situation that this reminds me of. We would then ask them, can you clarify or can you give me a specific example that illustrates how you have done that?
And how about this? I'll put the questions together when I get consensus of all the questions who are, once again, I'll kind of take a vote of all of who asked for that question the most. And I'll write down the question, and we can, amongst us all, we can work together to create that question better. Are you okay with that?
When would you do that?
Well, we're kind of immediately making up that question list after I've obtained their each individual separately what questions they would like to be seen asked.
But you're going to need like a deadline, like Friday morning, have your questions to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're gonna make up the list?
I will make up the list.
Yeah, as long as you're not,
Okay.
and as long as you're not, you're not collaborating.
Correct. It would be, they will supply just to me individually their selection. I will create a list.
Yes, and I'm also fine with them asking on-point questions, or follow-up questions, or responses like the person who were asked. That's no problem.
Right.
And then what point do the background investigations begin?
So that would happen after the interview. We want to make sure that you select, select just the one that you want, and then we'll do a background check.
Okay.
And it does include a criminal report. It's like the whole thing.
Okay.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, we were talking about this today.
Yeah, can you guys both hear me?
Dan, and Dan, come over here.
We spoke about this morning, and now that you've selected 5, we're going to go ahead and, at the same time, we're in context those 5 to let them know they've been selected and the remainder of the process. We're going to ask them to sign off on a couple pieces of paper, which will allow me to do a very, what's called like a level 1, low-level background check, which we would get the results back prior to your beta process you just spoke about. As in the past, I think, as your personnel director, I would recommend when we get through the whole process and you select one and offer them, a position, and you work with your city attorney to draw up a employment agreement, as we did 12 years ago with your last manager and previous, we would recommend, and I think hopefully the attorney agrees, part of that offer to the final one that's offered the actual job would include the requirement of a higher level, or what's called a level 2 background check and investigation. Those are obviously a little more expensive, a little more time consuming. Wouldn't have time to do that, and I would recommend we do that for candidates, but I think we can certainly do a low cost, what we do, for regular staff background check, and I'll defer to the attorney if he's got any concerns with that process.
No concerns, and I would just say if we communicate any offer, it's contingent on, the successful completion of the background check at our discretion of what successful means. So.
Yes, definitely. So,
I would also recommend that when the clerk's office calls them to tell them that they're finalists and to set up their hotels, that you go ahead and ask them now for that top 3 in terms of their references. Because at some point, those calls are you're gonna want to make those calls on that top candidate as well. And I don't know if that's part of the level 2.
I'm sorry, that didn't come through the microphone.
Could you
just reiterate that?
When they get called this afternoon to let them know that they've been selected for an interview, I would go ahead and ask them to send at least 3 professional references, so that the city clerk will have those, that when the commission makes that final selection, those calls can be made as part of that level 2. Because we hadn't asked them for that, because for me, it confuses the process until you get to those top applicants.
So to just follow up on that, because I was working with HR this morning on that. So the idea was that I'm going to send these 5 applicants email today on they have been selected to be interviewed. There's an HR form that they have to fill out for them to approve a background check. And so that will be done, that low-level background check will be done. We were going to do, so I was going to do the reference check with only 1 that was selected. But if you all don't feel that you want reference checks before that, that's a little bit of a different process.
Well, some of them were on their resumes. They put their references on there.
And those will be checked. So my idea was, because there's a firm that I have that does this level 2. It's not our vendor. This is going to be somebody else that actually checks the references and digs a little deeper. But I wanted to do, because of the price, it's about $1,500. I thought we would just do it with the person that is selected. However, just restating, we're still going to do the background check with our vendor that we do now on these 5.
Okay.
Janet's good with that. Jude, are you okay with that? Jude's okay.
I'm good.
Yes.
Consensus on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
If you come here. I'm sorry, thank you. So,
If you both can just agree to the background checks, the discussion we just had.
Yes.
If you could please agree, just say I agree or don't agree to the process of the background checks.
Yes, absolutely agree with the process of the background check.
I agree.
Okay, that's all. You're good?
Thanks. I think that ends, that's all.
Okay, so we're ready to move on to a motion to adjourn.
Sorry, I have a question.
Okay, wait a minute, Hillary's got a
I have a
question.
question about the question. So how many questions do we think is reasonable, given that we're giving an hour, and have we considered allowing time for the candidates to ask us questions?
Yes.
I would say probably 10 or less. And I think really important, one of the commissioners said it, that you really want to do the follow-up. when I hire, I look for a specific experience and specific accomplishments. So I would say probably 10 questions or less, and that you try to stay with those questions when you do your public interviews, so you're hearing apples to apples, and then always at the end, give them the opportunity, and that's going to be the mayor, to let them ask questions of you. I don't need to tell you, it's never good when they go directly to, and what was that salary, and what are those benefits? No. I want to know what they know about Eating Rock Speech and what they have questions about. That's what you're going to be looking for there.
And I think that's like, me, I'm just concerned about how many that we have on the current list. I know we're not going to use all of them.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
You two good?
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.